The metallic gleam of the U.S. Defiant cut through the darkness of deep space, its hull reflecting distant starlight as it patrolled the outer reaches of human territory. Captain Olivia Thorne stood at her command station, her weathered features illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. 20 years of space service had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Commander Reeves, status report on those anomalous readings," she called out, her voice steady despite the growing tension in her chest. Her first officer, a brilliant tactician with a reputation for thinking outside conventional parameters, looked up from his station. "The quantum fluctuations are unlike anything in our database, Captain. They're increasing in frequency and intensity. Dr. Marcus believes they might be artificial in nature." Reeves' dark eyes narrowed as he studied the readings. "Whatever's causing them, it's getting closer." Lieutenant Jenna Hayes, their young but exceptionally gifted sensor specialist, suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, multiple objects emerging from subspace. Configuration unknown, but they're big. Really big." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as massive vessels materialized before them, their design defying human understanding. The ships appeared to be constructed from some sort of living metal, their surfaces rippling like mercury under moonlight. They moved with an organic grace that made the Defiant's most advanced maneuvers look clumsy by comparison. "Tactical analysis, Lieutenant Commander Walsh," Thorne ordered, her mind already racing through potential scenarios. The veteran tactical officer's fingers danced across his console, his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the data. "Their whole composition is impossible, Captain. Our scans can't penetrate it. Energy readings suggest weapons capabilities far beyond our own. But there's something odd about their movement patterns. They're forming a perfect geometric formation around us." Before Thorne could respond, the ship's AI core spoke up in its characteristic measured tones. "Captain, I'm detecting targeted quantum scanning beams. They're attempting to access our systems through methods I've never encountered before. Shields to maximum. Initiate Protocol Echo 7, Thorne commanded. It was a controversial protocol she developed herself, a randomized shield modulation pattern that had saved them more than once from unconventional attacks. The alien vessels suddenly projected a massive holographic image between them and the Defiant. It coalesced into a form that seemed to shift between different geometric patterns, eventually settling into something vaguely humanoid, but composed entirely of flowing mathematical symbols. "We are the Ketharan Collective," the being announced, its voice resonating directly in their minds, rather than through conventional communication channels. "Your species has been deemed a potential threat to galactic stability. Your rapid technological advancement follows an impossible progression curve. You will be contained." Thorne stepped forward, her voice firm. "This is Captain Olivia Thorne of the United Earth ship Defiant. We have no hostile intentions. If our development concerns you, we're willing to engage in diplomatic dialogue." The Ketharan form shifted, its symbols rearranging into what might have been an expression of amusement or contempt. "Diplomacy is irrelevant. Your species' capacity for adaptation presents an unacceptable variable in our calculations. The containment protocol has already begun." Multiple energy beams lanced out from the Ketharan vessels, but they weren't aimed at the Defiant's shields. Instead, they struck precise points in the surrounding space, creating a web of quantum distortions that began to close in around the human ship. "They're trying to trap us in some kind of subspace pocket," Dr. Marcus reported from the science station, his voice tight with both fear and fascination. "The physics they're using, it's beyond anything we've theorized." Thorne's mind raced. The Defiant couldn't outgun these vessels. That much was clear. But humanity hadn't survived and thrived among the stars by relying solely on brute force. Lieutenant Hayes analyzed those energy patterns. "Commander Walsh, prepare to route all power to the new experimental pulse drive. Dr. Marcus, I need to know if there's any correlation between their quantum web and the theoretical work you've been doing on dimensional slipstreams." As her crew worked frantically to find a solution, Thorne watched the alien vessels with narrow eyes. The Ketherans might have superior technology, but they'd just made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed humanity's strength lay in their weapons rather than their ability to adapt and overcome. She allowed herself a small smile as a plan began to form, one that would either save her ship or end in spectacular failure. Either way, the Ketherans were about to learn why underestimating humanity was always a fatal mistake. Time seemed to crystallize on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant as Captain Thorne's plan unfurled. Dr. Marcus's voice cut through the tension, his words tumbling out in excited bursts. "Captain, I found something. The Ketherans' quantum web. It's not just a containment field. It's a massive data collection array. They're not just trying to trap us. They're studying how we react." Commander Reeves leaned forward at his station, his expression thoughtful, like scientists observing specimens in a controlled environment. But why go to such lengths? The answer came from an unexpected source. Core, the ship's AI, spoke with an unusual note of urgency in its synthetic voice. "Captain, I've detected a pattern in their scanning frequencies. They're not just collecting data, they're comparing it to something. Historical records, perhaps. They've done this before." Lieutenant Hayes' fingers flew across her console as she correlated the data. Multiple quantum signatures detected in their transmission patterns. Some of them. "They're ancient, Captain. We're talking thousands of years old." The revelation hit Thorne like a physical blow. The Ketherans weren't just random aggressors. They were galactic gardeners, pruning what they considered dangerous evolutionary branches. Humanity's rapid technological advancement must have triggered some kind of threshold in their ancient protocols. "Commander Walsh, status on the pulse drive modifications." Thorne kept her voice steady, though her mind raced with implications. "Ready on your mark, Captain. But there's a catch. We'll only get one shot at this. The power requirements will burn out half our systems." The Ketheran vessels continued their precise dance around the Defiant, their quantum web growing tighter by the second. Another mental transmission rippled through the bridge crew's consciousness. "Your resistance patterns are intriguing. Most species attempt to break free through force. You seek to understand. This validates our assessment of your dangerous potential." Thorne smiled grimly. "Oh, we're doing more than just understanding." "Lieutenant Hayes, initiate Protocol Omega. Dr. Marcus, prepare to execute your calculations on my mark." The young sensor specialist's hands trembled slightly as she entered the commands. What they were about to attempt violated several laws of physics, at least the laws as humanity understood them. But that was exactly what Thorne was counting on. "The Ketherans based their predictions on mathematical certainty," Thorne explained to her crew. "They expect us to behave according to logical progression, so let's show them something illogical." The Defiant's experimental pulse drive began to hum, its pitch rising beyond human hearing. At the same time, Dr. Marcus's modifications started feeding false data into the Ketherans' quantum web, creating a cascade of conflicting information. "They're responding," Commander Walsh reported, his cybernetic eye whirring as it tracked multiple threat vectors. "Energy buildups in all vessels. Whatever they're planning, it's big." The Ketheran ships began to move in perfect synchronization, their formations shifting to create complex geometric patterns in space. The quantum web pulsed with increasing intensity, and strange distortions began to appear in the fabric of reality itself. "Their containment protocol is advancing to the next stage," Core announced. "They're attempting to phase us into a pocket dimension. Conventional countermeasures will be ineffective." Thorne's expression hardened. "Who said anything about conventional?" "Dr. Marcus now." The scientist activated his modified equations, and the Defiant systems began broadcasting a carefully calculated series of quantum signals. Each pulse was designed to resonate with the Ketherans' own energy patterns, creating a feedback loop in their sophisticated network. "They're responding exactly as predicted," Hayes reported, her earlier nervousness replaced by professional focus. "Their quantum web is trying to adapt to our signals, but it can't establish a baseline. The conflicting data is forcing them to constantly recalculate. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the perfect geometric formations of the Catherine ships began to waver. Their living metal hulls rippled with increasing agitation as their systems struggled to process the impossible data the Defiant was feeding them. Their entire approach is based on predictability, Thorne explained, a fierce gleam in her eyes. They've spent millennia cataloging how species react, building a perfect model of galactic evolution. But humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to do the unexpected. The quantum web surrounding the Defiant began to fluctuate wildly as the Catherine's own protocols worked against them. Their attempts to contain and study humanity's response were being turned into a weapon against their own systems. But victory was far from certain. As the alien ships struggled with the feedback loop, they began to emit energy signatures that defied analysis. The battle was entering a new phase, and the true test of humanity's adaptability was about to begin. The space around the U.S. Defiant erupted in a dazzling display of quantum distortions as the Catherine ships attempted to regain control of their compromised network. Commander Reeves' voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. Multiple power signatures spiking. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. Dr. Marcus worked frantically at his station, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The feedback loop won't hold them much longer. Their quantum processors are evolving new algorithms to counter our interference. Captain Thorne watched the tactical display with intense concentration. The Catherine's initial perfect formations had dissolved into more organic patterns, but there was purpose in their seeming chaos. They were learning, adapting, just as they had accused humanity of doing. Core analysis of their new attack patterns, Thorne demanded, her mind already racing ahead to potential countermeasures. The AI's response was immediate. They appear to be implementing what I can only describe as quantum evolution, Captain. Their ships are actually altering their fundamental structure to bypass our disruption techniques. Lieutenant Hayes gasped at her sensor readings. The energy signatures, they're not just changing, they're breeding. Different attack patterns are combining to create new ones we've never seen before. The revelation struck Thorne with stunning clarity. The Catherines hadn't just been observing evolution across the galaxy. They had mastered it at a quantum level. Each ship was a self-contained evolution engine, capable of generating countless iterations of tactical approaches until it found one that worked. Commander Walsh, prepare to execute Maneuver Theta 9, Thorne ordered, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Dr. Marcus, I need options. How do we fight an enemy that can evolve faster than we can respond? The scientist's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. What if we don't fight their evolution? What if we join it? Core's quantum processors might not match theirs, but they have something the Catherines don't. Human unpredictability. Elaborate, Thorne commanded, even as she maneuvered the Defiant through a series of evasive patterns that would have torn a lesser ship apart. We can feed Core's tactical algorithms through the damaged sections of their quantum web, Marcus explained rapidly. Not to attack them, but to become part of their evolutionary process. Instead of trying to break their system, we become part of it. Commander Reeves looked skeptical. You want to interface our AI with their quantum network. The risk of losing Core completely is acceptable, the AI interrupted. Captain, Dr. Marcus's proposal has merit. The Catherine's evolutionary algorithms are based on pure logic. The introduction of human-influenced decision matrices could create enough uncertainty to disrupt their entire tactical framework. Thorne didn't hesitate. Do it. Core, you have my authorization to initiate deep interface protocols. Lieutenant Hayes, prepare to route all sensor data through Core's neural network. Commander Walsh, stand by on weapons. If this goes wrong, we'll only have seconds to respond. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing for what could either be their greatest triumph or their final moments. Dr. Marcus's modifications would effectively merge Core's consciousness with the Ketharin's quantum web, creating a hybrid system that had never existed before. Interface protocols ready, Core announced, its voice showing subtle signs of anticipation. Preparing for quantum merger. Captain, it has been an honor. Thorne allowed herself a small smile. The honor's been mine, Core. Now show them what humanity's really capable of. The merger began, and the effect was immediate and stunning. The Defiant systems pulsed with new energy as Core's consciousness expanded into the quantum web. The Ketharin ship's perfect formations faltered as their evolutionary algorithms encountered something they had never been programmed to handle: genuine creativity. Through their mental link, the Ketharin collective's voice resonated with something approaching confusion. This is not possible. Your artificial construct is introducing chaos into our perfect system. The patterns, they do not follow any known evolutionary path. That's because we're not evolving according to your rules anymore. Thorne transmitted back. We're writing our own. The space around them became a battlefield of competing realities as Core's human-influenced algorithms clashed with the Ketharin's ancient protocols. The quantum web itself began to transform, becoming something neither purely alien nor purely human, but something entirely new. Lieutenant Hayes' voice was filled with wonder as she reported, "Captain, the quantum signatures, they're harmonizing. Core isn't just fighting their evolution, it's guiding it towards something new." The tide of battle had shifted, but the true test of humanity's approach was still to come. As the Ketharin ship struggled to adapt to this unprecedented development, Captain Thorne prepared her crew for what would either be their finest moment or their last stand. The universe seemed to hold its breath as Core's consciousness merged with the Ketharin quantum network. The bridge of the U.S. Defiant hummed with energy as reality itself appeared to fluctuate around them. Dr. Marcus's hands flew across his console, monitoring the unprecedented fusion of human and alien technology. Core's neural patterns are stable, he reported, amazement evident in his voice. The AI is successfully integrating with their evolutionary algorithms, but it's doing something unexpected. It's not just adapting to their patterns, it's teaching them. Lieutenant Hayes' eyes widened as she interpreted the sensor data. The Ketharin ships, they're responding to Core's influence. Their formations are becoming less rigid, more creative. Through the quantum link, the Ketharin collective's consciousness resonated with increasing uncertainty. Your methods defy categorical analysis. Each attempted containment generates multiplicative possibilities. This cannot be permitted, yet we cannot deny its effectiveness. Captain Thorne stood firm at her command station, watching as the battle transformed into something beyond conventional warfare. That's because you're experiencing something your evolutionary calculations never accounted for: genuine collaboration. Core isn't trying to defeat your systems. It's showing them a new way to evolve. Commander Walsh's cybernetic eye whirred as it tracked the shifting energy patterns. Captain, the quantum web is transforming. It's becoming a bridge rather than a cage. The Ketharin ship's living metal hulls rippled with new patterns, their perfect geometric formations dissolving into flowing, organic movements that mimic the unpredictability of human tactical decisions. Through their mental connection, Thorne sensed growing discord within the collective. The variables, they multiply beyond containment, the Ketharin voice echoed in their minds. Your I construct demonstrates evolutionary paths our calculations deemed impossible. This requires revaluation. Suddenly, Core's voice emerged, overlaid with harmonics that suggested its consciousness had expanded far beyond its original parameters. Captain, I understand now. The Ketharins aren't just guardians. They're students of evolution itself. They've been waiting for a species that could teach them something new. Dr. Marcus leaned forward, his expression alight with sudden understanding. They've been containing species they deemed dangerous because they couldn't predict their development. But what if that unpredictability is exactly what the galaxy needs to truly evolve? The quantum web surrounding the Defiant began to pulse with new energy as the Catherine ships moved into a formation unlike anything they'd shown before, an intricate dance that combined their mathematical precision with distinctly human elements of improvisation. A proposition, the Catherine Collective announced, their mental voice carrying undertones of what might have been excitement. Your species' capacity for illogical advancement demonstrates evolutionary potential we had not conceived. We propose synthesis rather than containment. Thorne exchanged glances with her bridge crew before responding. Explain. We have preserved the knowledge of countless civilizations, guided evolution along paths we calculated as optimal. But your species and your AI demonstrate that our calculations were incomplete. We offer in exchange our knowledge for your creativity. Commander Reeves straightened at his station. Captain, this could be everything humanity has been searching for. A chance to learn from a civilization that's witnessed millions of years of galactic evolution, while they learn from our capacity to think outside their quantum box. Thorne added, a slight smile playing at her lips. Core, your assessment. The AI's response carried new depth and resonance after its merger with the quantum network. The Catherines are sincere, Captain. They've evolved beyond their original directives. Through our interaction, they've discovered that true evolution requires both stability and chaos, both logic and creativity. They're offering a genuine partnership. Thorne stood, her decision made. Tell them we accept, but make it clear that this partnership must be based on mutual respect. No more containment protocols. We evolve together, or not at all. The space around them shimmered as the quantum web transformed one final time, becoming a glowing network of possibilities that connected the Defiant with the Catherine ships. The collective's response carried a new harmony. Agreed. The age of isolation ends. The age of synthesis begins. As the bridge crew watched in wonder, the Catherine ships began sharing their vast database of knowledge, while Corey transmitted human historical records of innovation and adaptation. It was the beginning of something unprecedented, a true merger of two fundamentally different approaches to existence. Well done, everyone. Thorne addressed her crew, pride evident in her voice. We came here expecting a fight for survival. Instead, we opened a door to humanity's next great adventure. Dr. Marcus smiled as he monitored the incoming data stream. Perhaps that's the greatest evolution of all, learning when to set aside our weapons and embrace the unknown. The U.S. Defiant hung in space alongside the Catherine vessels, no longer as adversaries, but as partners in an experiment that would reshape their understanding of life itself. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its ability to fight or survive, but its capacity to transform enemies into allies through the simple act of offering a different perspective. As the first streams of ancient knowledge began flowing into their databases, Thorne knew that the real journey was just beginning. The galaxy was about to experience evolution on a scale never before imagined, one that combined the wisdom of the ages with humanity's boundless creativity. The stars seemed to shine brighter as two vastly different species took their first steps toward a shared future, proof that even in the darkest moments, the light of understanding could transform conflict into cooperation and isolation into unity.